I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. We're going to begin with a moment of silence and the pledge led by Virginia Babb.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. Good to see a nice crowd here this evening. I'd like to start out by recognizing any elected officials in the audience. Jeremy? Justin. I know you're Justin. I'm sorry. Justin, one of our at-large county commissioners, welcome. Really appreciate you being here and tuning in on school board business. Thank you for coming. Are there any others out there that I've overlooked? All right, thank you. Also, by way of announcements, please mark your calendar. This is a biggie. Our annual CTE goes live on Friday, May 3rd on Market Square Mall. The event showcases our CTE students getting hands-on experience on everything from event production to cosmetology to criminal justice. So plan to bring your family to this fun-filled system-wide event, and one student from each high school participates in a live singing competition. This is a lot of fun, and if you are looking for something truly fun for your family to do Friday night, I hope that you'll head to Market Square. You know, we're in the middle of the Dogwood Arts Festival, so there's a lot of fun stuff going on anyway. So extra plug for Buck Coatney and CTE. And lastly, we'd like to take just another moment to provide you with a legislative update. But 1 second before we do, Ms. Owens, I need to make an announcement. I was just notified that Comcast is down tonight. So this is being taped, but it is not currently being broadcast live. So if any of you get any texts or calls or anything about how the broadcast is not coming through, it is, I promise you, it's Comcast, not Knox County Schools. But we love you, Comcast, and they're going to work on it first thing in the morning. And I am assuming once that happens, it will be posted online on our website for viewing. So thank you for that information, Ms. Harrington. All right, I will move on now to Ms. Owens as she gives us a legislative update.
Comcast just doesn't want to hear the legislative update. That's what it is. Okay. The Charter Authorizer Bill has passed the House Finance Committee this week, and so it will be moving on toward the floor. That is the bill that takes away our authority to authorize the charter schools that we feel are necessary or where we feel are necessary in our individual counties across the state, and puts that decision-making in the hands of an appointed state commission. So that is an additional branch of government, well, not branch of government, an additional government authority that's being created, a 9-member commission that will decide for the entire state which charter schools will be accepted and where they will be accepted. If that commission decides that there will be 10 charter schools on a single block, so be it, and the local decision-making bodies will have nothing to say there. So that is very concerning. I strongly recommend that everyone contact your House and Senate members to discuss that bill. The bill that has passed today is the voucher bill that we talked about last time. However, it has been amended back to all of the concerning things that have previously been removed. So there are 2 different versions currently. There's the version that has things removed, and then the Senate version that was passed in the Senate Education Committee has reverted back. If both of these bills pass in their respective bodies, it would go to a conference commission. And so What would happen there is that they would decide which one to accept, and that would be that. So that's also concerning. So here's what has currently passed in the Senate Education Committee, and I hope you will go back and look on the website and take time to watch part of that meeting and notice who they listened to as far as testimony, and notice how little they listened to our own State Department of Education, and how much they listened to folks who are not from around here. Right, so a person who is accepting this funding does not have to attend a low-performing school. It can be any school in Knox County. It is still a cap on income up to double the poverty line, so that's around $50,000 to $60,000. It only counts the previous year's income, so that person could be making six figures in the year that they accept it. Doesn't matter, they still get to keep it forever. The most concerning piece in the funding part, and by the way, the Senate says that funding is all we care about. We don't care about children, we just care about money. That was very clearly stated at the end of the meeting. It said that any person who opposes this is only interested in money. That's an actual quote from one of our senators. The funding that is removed, we keep being told that it's going to come back, only that's not quite true. That money goes with the student to the school, and for the first 3 years, there is funding equivalent put back into the district, but not into the school that the student left. It's put in for very specific improvements to low-performing schools. So we could have 100 students leave one of our very large schools and lose that $730,000 is what I'm trying to say. It's a big amount. $730,000 would be lost from that school, but any amount we got back would not go to that school. It would go to low-performing schools for improvements there. So when they talk about it coming back, sort of, but not really. The bill incentivizes failure because it allows students to continue accepting funding till age 22. So if a student is in a homeschool situation or a small school situation and they are not using all of the funding, but they are putting it into a savings account for college, then they can continue doing that until age 22 as long as they haven't graduated. And if they are in their own school situation, then that determination is made there, not by our Department of Education. One section of the bill says that to be an eligible school, you have to be a Category 1, 2, or 3 private school. That means they're accredited by a body. But the rest of that sentence says, and that seeks to enroll eligible students. So that takes choice out of the hands of the parents and the students. It's the school that has to choose whether they are going to accept students. They can't just go where they want to. They can pay it to a provider, and provider means an individual or business that provides educational services. That could be almost anything. They have to, at a minimum, teach English, language arts, mathematics, social studies, and science. That's all. They don't have to meet any other state requirements that we meet. Participation in the program has the same effect as parental refusal to consent to the receipt of services under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That is still there, and that is still very concerning. Payment can be for the purchase of curriculum, supplemental materials, or instruments required by the curriculum. So if they are teaching driver's ed in that school, they could purchase a car with that funding. They could also pay fees for transportation if it is to a fee-for-service transportation provider. So that could be a bus, could be an Uber, could be a limo driver. There's nothing there that regulates that. When the participating student reaches 18, like I said last time, those rights for controlling all of that funding go directly to that student. There's no provision for whether that student is able at that time to take care of that kind of money. So if we have a student who is a special needs student who may not be ready yet to take care of that money because we have a provision that they can be in school until 22, maybe they are not ready yet at 18, there's no provision for that, they are automatically at age 18 fully in control of those funds. Their parents are not allowed to control those funds anymore. It says that if a student ceases to be a resident of this state, but I think we all remember going to college and having a permanent address and a school address, and there's nothing that clarifies what residency actually means there. When they leave, if there are funds remaining in their account, those funds also don't go back to the district. Those funds go into a basic education program account. It's an education trust fund of 1992, and how those funds are used is to be determined later. There's a lot in here that's to be determined later. There are multiple rules and provisions that it's expecting the Department of Education to establish. So at great cost in personnel and time to our Department of Education, and of course that takes away from our own students. Last week when we talked about this, the cap on students was at 15,000 for the state. It is now at 30,000. So they have doubled that. So instead of 415,000 being your 6-year total, we'll be looking at almost double that eventually. One thing that the folks pushing this bill keep saying is that it doesn't come out of our funds. However, they also keep very, very clearly saying that our local dollars are also part of it. So the funding that our county commission is putting in as our local part of the BEP, we lose that. So that's really important to get across to our legislators who maybe don't fully understand how funding works. The folks who are explaining things to them regarding funding are using examples from other states who have very different kinds of funding and very different ways of funding schools. And so when they are comparing, they're not at all looking at the way BEP works. They're not at all looking at the way these funds are calculated. So a lot of people are very confused about what's actually going on there, and they need to see those numbers up close. An example that I've used for some folks is if we have 20 students divided by 4 classrooms, and we lose 2 from each of those classrooms, it looks like, oh wow, we just changed our student-teacher ratio to 18 in a class. But really we didn't, because we also lost $58,000. So that's an entire teaching position. Instead of dividing those students by 4, we now need to divide them by 3 and have 24 in a class. That's what people are really having trouble wrapping their head around, is when we take students out, we don't necessarily reduce or change that ratio, because we have to reduce our teacher numbers if that happens. So we need to look at that too. The fact that funds do not return to that school, that is seriously concerning there, because there's nothing there to support keeping those teachers in place for the students who are still there, nothing at all. It was repeatedly pointed out by those who were asking really good questions that we're looking at 1 million students in Tennessee, and that this funding could be used to support our 1 million students in Tennessee, instead of looking at ways to move the funding around and move just a few individuals to different schools. But that has not really taken hold anywhere at all. Our Department of Education will be required to advertise and ensure that people know about the program. It does not require that they make sure people understand the program, just that they know about it. And so this, it goes on and on with many, many concerns, and I think it will continue to change, but so far it's changing for the worse instead of for the better. And I would very strongly encourage people to call and have serious conversations. Don't just call and leave a message and say, hey, I'm opposed to it, and hang up. Call and have a conversation with our legislators and make sure they understand the parts that you are most concerned about, because it may be that they really have not looked at the pieces where we are really concerned. Thank you.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Jennifer, for that report. Thank you. I know many public educators across this state have been very active these last few weeks advocating. That's much appreciated, and it's not over yet. So please, if you've got any inclination to call a representative, I hope that now's the time that you will do that. Thank you again, Ms. Owens. I know you have spent a lot of time dedicated to this legislative session. All right, moving along, I'd like to take personal privilege here, if I could, for just a moment, and ask Vivian Shipe if she would please come to the podium. Vivian is the recruiting assistant for Knox and Anderson County for our 2020 census that is going to be occurring. And she had some information she just shared with me that I asked her to bring forward as a form of a public service announcement. It's something that will benefit everyone sitting here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the 2020 census, which is going to apportion $675 billion. Everyone that is not counted in your community and your area, you will lose $1,051 per person. So it is very important when it comes to voting rights and areas and hospital money, federal funds, school funds, grant monies that is federal money, that everyone be counted. We are starting to hire now. The census site is 2020 census.gov/jobs. We need everyone who is 18 and above right now to apply, because you will go to work in June. Something special we're doing this time is we are asking, if you have a 17-year-old, we're asking you to go ahead and have them apply also. What we're going to do is going to clear them through the federal process. They will be put in a special hiring pool, and as they turn 18, they will go to work. This census is very important. Everyone must be counted. So I appreciate the opportunity to share the information. I have some more cards where I can help you after the meeting, but please share the information with your students, your organizations, your churches. We must count every American citizen. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vivian. And I think it's fair to say that that you are very much recruiting our graduates, and even very open to teachers and any Knox County school employees. There's flexibility in this working. There's pretty good pay in this, if you wouldn't mind just
Yes,
another
ma'am.
minute.
I appreciate that. The pay pays $15.50 to $27 an hour. When you go on the site, there's an assessment which will assess your experiences, and when they call and make an offer, it'll be based on what you put in that application. We are also asking, please have your teachers, your cafeteria workers, your bus drivers, have them apply, because they can work during the summer. And one thing that I caution you about that I have run into is this is a federal position. When you go into that application, which takes about 30 minutes, just like your teacher will tell you, you must answer all the questions. If you do not answer all the questions and you leave out Part B of question 27, your application will just sit there and spin. It will not go forward. You can go back into that same site and check your status after you apply to make sure that you're eligible for hire. If at that point you have a problem, if you'll contact me, I will run it up the chain and check on your application for you, but only after you have completed the application and checked on it. But please do share that with teachers, bus drivers, your cafeteria workers, anyone that could benefit from summer work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Owen?
Hi, thank you, Ms. Hill. I want to clarify one thing that I said because I don't want it to be heard wrong. And listening to it in my head, I think I need to be very clear that when I said one of our senators said that, I do not mean one of our local senators. It was
Yes.
not one of our local senators. I mean one of our state senators. So let's be very clear. Our local senators are supporting us.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Ms. Shipe. We will be sure that that word gets out to our employees. Appreciate you bringing that forward. All right, if there are no other comments at this time, moving on to changes to the agenda. Mr. Norman, you had mentioned in our workshop B180 and B131. Do you still have thoughts on postponing?
Yes, I'd like to postpone those if I could.
All right. If I see no objection, that will be moved to next month's agenda. Board members, you also received an email today regarding the MOU being considered on item 7B. UT requested a couple of revisions in this document for the Get Fruit project grant. Those revisions have been approved by the Law Department, and a new version is attached to your electronic agenda. So please be sure and take a look at that before we vote. Also, another thing brought up during work session, item 9B, which refers to the 2020-21 school calendar. The 6th and 9th grade orientation dates have been added, and I believe you've got a copy of that in front of you. And if you'll note the August 7th, there is a special bullet there now where that has been added in addition to the in-service day. I thought that was a good suggestion. And thank you, staff, for taking care of that so quickly. Did you want to address that, Mr. Norman?
No.
Oh, all right. Also, strategic plan documents, that is another thing that has been forwarded to all of you. The changes that were suggested last week have also been incorporated into this. Thank you, Ms. Horn, and your staff again for your hard work in getting this done so that we can bring it to a vote tonight. Are there any other requested changes? Mr. Norman?
Yes, I would like to add for discussion the item that I sent the board on differentiated pay for certified employees.
All right. I believe that will become 9G then, and without objection, that will be added. Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Coatney, if you would begin reading agenda items.
Item 5, consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Horn, second by Babb. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6A has been deferred. 6B, approve second reading of Knox County Board of Education Policy B200, Policy Development and Adoption as amended.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Owen, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
6C, approve second reading of Knox County Board of Education Policy C100, School Administration Goals and Objectives as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve by Owen, second by Norman. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
6D, approve second reading of Knox County Board of Education Policy C122, Director of Schools Recruitment and Selection as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Owen, second by Norman. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
6E, approve second reading of Knox County Board of Education Policy C124, Director of Schools Compensation, Benefits, and Expenses as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve by Owen, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
6F was deferred. 6G, approve second reading of Knox County Board of Education Policy J120, attendance as amended.
Second.
Motion by Owen, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
6H, approve second reading of Knox County Board of Education Policy J392, students in foster care as amended.
Second.
Motion by Owen, second by Norman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And again, just for our viewing public and those out there, these all have been thoroughly vetted in our workshop that we had last week. So it appears we're moving quickly, but they have in fact all been reviewed and discussed. Thank you.
Item 7A, approve agreement with the City of Knoxville for Knox County's participation in a Community-Oriented Policing Services 2018 Stop School Violence Grant in an amount not to exceed $288,488 to enhance the safety of Knox County students through ongoing training, school site safety improvements, and technological upgrades.
So moved.
Do I- Motion by Norman, second by Horn. Do we have any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
7B, approve revised memorandum of understanding with the University of Tennessee for the Get Approved project and receipt of newly proposed $1,500 stipend for each of 9 participating site champion teachers.
So moved.
Approved by Norman. Motion by Norman, second by Christie. Any discussion? Mr. Dupler, did you have anything you needed to add to this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing that I would add is that the recent amendments by the University of Tennessee are housekeeping and accounting type of amendments, basically just setting a maximum amount that they will pay, but it's consistent with the amount that was previously discussed, talking about all the different types of schools that are available, and then just some basic accounting. So, in short, nothing objectionable from our office. So.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
7C, approve Tennessee Valley Authority and Tennessee STEM Innovation Network grants for Bonnie Kate Elementary School, Dogwood Elementary School, L&N STEM Academy, and West Valley Middle School in the total amount of $13,000.
Second.
Motion to approve by Satterfield, second by Norman. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7D, approve Lowe's Toolbox for Education grant in the amount of $4,365 for Cedar Bluff Middle School designated to the Courtyard Classroom and Cafe project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Norman, second by Horn. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
7E, approve Tennessee Society of Professional Engineers Gears grant for Farragut High School in the amount of $1,000 designated for the robotics team.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Horn, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
7F, approve Crystal Foundation grant in the amount of $3,598.95 for Hardin Valley Middle School designated for the broadcast and newspaper programs.
Motion to approve by Ms. Hill,
Second.
second by Horn. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
7G, approve donation of automotive parts from Ted Russell Ford with an approximate value of $110,974.81 designated to transportation classes at Bearden, Carter, Central, Gibbs, Halls, and South Doyle High Schools.
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve by McMillan, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
7H, approve donation from Chapman Recreation Center in the amount of $38,744.96 for Dogwood Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve by Christie, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
7I, approve agreement with Ellen DeGeneres Show for acceptance of a $20,000 prize gift designated for the benefit of Gibbs Elementary School.
So moved. Second.
Motion by McMillan, second by Norman. Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
8A, approve contracts with Andrews Electric Services LLC, Energy Electric Incorporated, Magaha Electric Company Incorporated, and Skilled Services LLC for provision of electrical services as needed for the term of May 1, 2019 through April 31, 2020, which may be extended for 4 additional years, 1 year at a time, for a total of 5 years.
Second.
Motion by Owen, second by Norman. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
8B, approve contracts with DPM Enterprises Incorporated and National Building Service Incorporated for provision of carpet cleaning and floor cleaning services as needed for the term of May 1, 2019 through April 30, 2020, which may be extended for 4 additional years, 1 year at a time, for a total of 5 years.
So moved.
Second.
Approved by Norman, second by Horn. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just a brief interlude here. Ms. Coatney, we are so glad that you are back with us. I am hearing your throat a little scratchy now. Do you need a relief?
No,
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Thank you so much. And
All
I'm glad
right.
to be back.
All right, we're glad to have you. All right, moving along.
Item 9A, approve fiscal year 2019 budget line item transfers in the amount of $23,187.
So moved.
Second.
Approved by Norman, second by Horn. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
9B, approve Knox County Schools 2020-2021 school year calendar.
So moved.
Approved by Norman, second by Owen. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 9C, approve Knox County Schools adoption of textbooks for career and technical education, business, marketing and finance, social studies, and world languages.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Norman, second by Owen. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
9D, approve appointment of Scott Bolton, Interim Executive Director of Human Resources, to the Knox County Board of Education Collaborative Conferencing Management Team.
So moved.
Motion by Norman, second by Owen. Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
9E, discussion and possible action on superintendent's evaluation process tool.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Norman, second by Horn. Ms. Owen, did you have any discussion on this? Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, I apologize,
yeah,
Mr. Dugler.
I don't want to say point of order, you all would say that, but thank you, Madam Chair. But somebody needs to actually make a motion to actually approve the superintendent evaluation tool, because the line item does say discussion and possible action, so.
Thank you for that correction. Do I hear a motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation process tool?
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Owen, second by Norman. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 9F, approve 2019 through 2024 5-year strategic plan.
Motion to approve by Satterfield, second by Horn. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna oppose the strategic plan on the basis of one primary thing, and I wanted to speak to that, I guess, briefly. When I look at the strategic plan, you know, 2/3 of it I'm fine with. The part of the strategic plan that deals with disparities is troublesome to me for a number of reasons. The primary reason would be that when I look at it or think about the details of it, a lot of it, or there seems to be an emphasis on race. I have great difficulty in talking about racial issues in terms of how it's portrayed to be, sometimes in such a negative light in Knox County. And this group, or the members of the board that have been on here with me the longest, have heard me rail a little bit about accusations that are made about racism and so on in Knox County. And I always preface thoughts about race with my experience, my direct experience, which is, somewhere around 40 years in Knox County schools, in the classroom, outside of the classroom, on the commission, dealing with educational committee issues, certainly working with administrators and teachers throughout this time. My problem is that in all of the 40 years that I've dealt with people in the system, not one time have I ever heard anything or seen anything that I would categorize as racist. Now that's by people that are adults. I'm sure there's things that are racially motivated within both adults and students. But what I think that the section and all of the work, and I appreciate the work that people did on these committees, the task force and so forth. I appreciate the work, but I also recognize sort of the origin of this effort, and it could be traced back to Race to the Top and efforts to, acquire grant monies, play whatever grant game that was, and I think a lot of this effort was birthed within that. Anyway, that being said, what I feel about many of these efforts is that it promotes division. It accentuates differences in people. And differences, these things are, I think, harmful to us in the long term. I want to accentuate how similar we all are, how basically and fundamentally we're the same. We're all the same. We all want the same things. We want the same things for our kids. We want the same things for our families. So this particular section of the strategic plan does not promote that in my view, and that's the reason why I will not support it. But I do appreciate all the work that's gone on to produce this. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. McMillan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just now realized that the light wouldn't work. I just want to make a couple of brief comments. I don't want to belabor it. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here last week for the discussion, but I did watch some of it, was able to do that. But anyway, I agree with much of what Mr. Norman has said. I guess when all's said and done, we've taken something that that we didn't even have to do, as far as there's no requirement that we have, that I know of, that we have a strategic plan. But we've taken a rather complicated, you think there is a requirement we have one?
Yes.
Okay, but it certainly doesn't have to be this complicated. But Mr. Dupler?
I was just going to try and help you out there, Mr. McMillan. I mean, the State Board of Education does have a policy requiring a plan, but that's about as specific as it gets, other than it has to be for 5 years.
It's vague in general, in other words. Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I've heard that, but I'd forgotten about it, but we've talked so much about this. But anyway, my personal opinion, and I might be wrong, I realize a lot of things have changed, but once this is implemented, I think you can do new policies for a short period of time and get by with them. But once it's fully implemented and we get like 3 years in and everybody's doing it, I can envision that the potential is there to create more problems than we're solving by getting into, trying to fine tune this. And so therefore, without making further comment, I just prefer to oppose it. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
My light's not working either.
Virginia? Ms. Babb?
I respect that we've got different opinions on the board.
Thank you.
I don't even know if this, okay. I do support the work that has been done. I don't, as we have heard from many community members, this is not a perfect document, and it will never be a perfect document that will make everyone happy. But I think there has been a lot of effort that has gone on, and I will support it, and I will support it with the disparities part. I believe it's an important part to be in there. And I do, just because I'm going to go back to a discussion that happened last week where I had a question that hopefully Mr. Bolton doesn't mind clarifying. And it's under the disparities section and under providing student supports. And just one of the objectives is percentage of certified staff of color. If you can just clarify what that means.
Absolutely. Thanks, Madam Chair, the rest of the board. Under that particular metric where you're looking at percentage of certified staff of color, that would refer to non-white staff members. And just to bring out, that is different than what's indicated in the metrics below and narrowing achievement gaps. Those are more specific to those particular minority groups, Black, Hispanic, and Native American. So that those are those folks in that the Black, Hispanic, and Native American would fit into the staff of color, but the staff of color represents non-white staff members.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right. Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor to approve the 5-year strategic plan made by Satterfield, seconded by Horn. Ms. Coatney, let's do a roll call vote on this, beginning with District 1.
Ms. Satterfield?
What do I say? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Owen? Mr. Norman?
No.
Ms. Babb?
Yes.
Ms. Bounds?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
No.
Ms. Christie?
Yes.
Ms. Horn?
Yes.
And Ms. Hill?
Yes.
That's 7 yes votes and 2 no votes.
All righty. Motion passes. And new item 9G. Ms. Coatney?
Discussion on differentiated pay for certified employees.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I put this out mainly to stir the pot a little bit about certified employees. This has been discussed and sort of tossed about for a long time. I think probably for this to work or to go through the proper channels, it would probably have to go to the collaborative conferencing team, be discussed that way. So it's more just to get the conversation going, emphasize what I think is a fact that probably the salary schedule needs to be redone, given its complexity. And that's a recommendation, as I said to you all, from people both inside school finance and county finance. So this is a discussion item. So I wanted to hear what others had to say about this suggestion or recommendation. And but before I open it up to the rest of the board, I would like to ask Mr. McPherson about anything that his response to it, if there are some numbers that he could supply. Specifically, I guess one of the basic numbers I'd like to know is how many people possibly outside that first category would we be talking about? Do we know? You know, and I'm saying primarily the people that have contact with students. That's really the first category. So do we have anything else you want to share, Mr. McPherson?
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norman, Madam Chair. Yeah, so what in category 1, if I make sure I'm saying this right, it would involve classroom teachers, guidance counselors, librarians, psychologists. Those numbers, I'm going to round here a little bit. That's probably around, you're looking at about 4,200 employees there. If you get to category 2, which would be assistant principals and instructional support, we're looking at about 240, probably about 330 around in there. These numbers aren't exact. And then under district administration, which would be category 3, again, these are all certified employees, it's 78 is what it is who it would affect. So again, the large category, or the high cost category would obviously be category 1, which would be classroom teachers and then the guidance counselors and librarians and those. So anyway, we do have some, what that would mean with regards to percentage raises and dollar amounts and so forth. The way the salary, and I think Mr. Norman's right, the salary scale can be a little complicated. But so what happens is if it's difficult to pull out categories of employees when certain different types of employees are paid on the same step and lane. So I think, as we look through this, one of the things that the salary schedule includes, there's a certain amount of a built-in tiered approach already. So when we say a 4% raise across the board, those employees that would be under category 2 and category 3, based on the current structure of the salary scale, would actually receive an amount not equivalent to a full 4% of their total salary. It's an amount based on that teacher portion. So, for instance, if we were to say a 4% across the board, for like a principal would be around 3.2%, because there's that supplement factor built in on top of that. So when we do a raise, we don't raise the supplement portion too. So there's a little bit of a built-in differentiated pay as well for some of our like our non-school based, or for lack of a better word, central office. That's kind of a generic term. Some of that would equate to, for the 255 employees, that would equate to about a 2.6 if we were to give a 4% raise. So there's a bit of a natural built-in tiered approach, only because of the way the salary structure or the salary schedule is structured at the moment.
Okay, and I get that, and so what I'm looking for is a way to reduce the difference, such that maybe it's some kind of flat number,
Right.
and if a teacher gets $3,500 raise
Right.
and the principal gets $3,500, we're not increasing the difference. So that's what,
Right.
and there's different ways to do this.
Right.
I'm trying,
We've had a lot of discussion. I think Mr. Norman raises some really good points because we've had a lot of discussion about, we've even talked about, at some point, does it need to be structured in such a way where it's just divided equally? It's a flat number. It has spurred some really good conversation. And how we, do we need to take a really hard look,
Okay.
at how we're doing this.
Okay, let me just open it up to the board and see what other comments we have.
Ms. Owen?
I just have a question. Are you looking at this for the current budget cycle, or are we thinking about this as a future thing to look toward?
Well, I'd like to do it as soon as possible. I don't know what's feasible in terms of this cycle. So, this is where Ron and his people have to weigh in. Do you have a comment?
Well, I would just say, based on the time frame, you're right. It would be really difficult because of obviously we would, the collaborative conferencing aspect that you spoke about, plus also just landing on whatever the board or the PECA or whatever they would feel comfortable with. So I think the time frame is kind of the issue here, and to calculate how much to even the processing of it in our systems and to readjust some of that. So yeah, that's as far as this budget cycle, that it may get a little tough.
Yeah. So I guess my suggestion would, or what I'd like to see, is a commitment towards this end, so to speak, in the next year, and that be something that we would work on, commit to. This is what we're going to try to bring to PECA and get input. That's what I'm looking for.
Ms. Bounds?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Norman, for bringing this forward. I think it's a discussion that would be very beneficial for everybody. I agree that with Mr. McPherson that it would be very hard to get it done well in a timely way, but I would certainly support the board looking into this along with our finance department and bringing this discussion. And this isn't just within Knox County Schools. In other organizations I'm in, where you give an across-the-board pay raise, that gap continues to widen as the years go on. And so I think it would be good to revisit that. So thank you.
Ms. Horn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to go back to something that you said, so is the thought, if you had $14 million to give pay raises, perhaps you divide that by the number of employees so that each person would get the same dollar amount, and therefore the percentage would be different? Is that the thought? I'm trying to follow.
Right. Well, I'm obviously not making any recommendation or anything.
Right,
Would serve at the pleasure, but superintendent. But so I guess what I was saying within the context is there's been a lot of healthy discussion as far as different ways that we may go. We may want to look at some of the the structure of the salary scale. So there's a myriad of ways to look at that. So I was just using that as an example of some of the some of the just bouncing ideas off and how to accommodate some of the questions that particularly Mr. Norman had raised with regards to the various different groups and what that might look like.
Okay, thank you. And I agree that we wouldn't have time to do that at this point, but perhaps for the future it could be reviewed. Thank you.
Ms. Owen?
First, I want to say that I'm really glad to hear the collaborative conferencing team discussed with this board, because for a very long time, that was not really recognized, even though it was part of the law. So I'm very glad that is being considered by us. I'd like to suggest that we kind of put this on our radar and our calendar for our next lengthy workshop like in the fall, our 2-day workshop, when we would have time to look at all of this. And when we do that, if we could look at the complexity of the state having just those 6 steps compared to our steps, not that I want to reduce to that, because I do not, be really clear there. But I think we need to understand how those differences make it tricky for us. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Norman?
Thank you. And so I guess I'm asking now that we have a commitment, and I'm sort of directing that to you, Superintendent Thomas, that we'll have a commitment from the administration that this will be something that we will work on and hopefully succeed in developing a new salary schedule. And that could entail things outside of the certified issue, but certainly at least within the certified employees. Thank you.
All right, so I'm hearing the will of the board that Ms. Coatney, if you will add this to a possible discussion item for the retreat, that the superintendent and the new chair consider as the agenda is made for that retreat. That would be appreciated. Also, just as a matter of information to the board, last summer, I believe it was, myself and a couple of community members sat down with Mr. Snyder and some of his team at the time and wore this topic out. And at that point in time, I came to realize truly how much prior discussion and thought had been put into this and looking at fair and equitable ways and also money-saving ways, the fact that the ways that we could benefit the whole, but at the same time perhaps put a few more dollars back in our pocket. And there is a lot of possibility out there, a lot of good information, and I appreciate, Mr. Norman, you bringing this as a topic for future discussion. All right. If I see no other lights, then we will move on to public forum. Ms. Horn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first speaker is Shaquille Johnson. I probably did not pronounce that correctly. Okay. Charles Johnson. Okay, Amanda Leeper. And as you're coming, if you would state your name and county of residence. And you'll have 5 minutes.
Amanda Leeper, Knox County.
Okay, just go ahead when you're ready.
I have a daughter who goes to Amherst. She's completely nonverbal. I'm going to try and keep my composure. A few weeks ago, she started acting differently. She shut down. This is a child who can't stand to be wet for 2 seconds and would sit in her room for hours before she would come and tell you. I reached out to her teachers, the bus driver. I was reassured nothing had changed. I found out by accident that not only was there a new male in her classroom, but that he was taking her along with the other nonverbal little girls into the bathroom and by himself. Here's the problem with that. I was reassured. So I thought, well, this will be fixed. It'll be an easy solution. Keep in mind, this is my one and only problem. I have backed that classroom. I have been the anonymous parent who has financially supported that classroom along with every single child, down to these shirts on their backs for the past 3 years. There's never been one issue for me. My child cannot say her own name. She has to have a lot of help in the bathroom, help that you guys couldn't imagine. For a grown man to go in a room with her alone is not okay. It's happened too many times to too many kids. I went to the school, then the supervisors, then the directors, and they all say my anger needs to be at you. They're safe. It's your policy. They're protected, which means each man, each Tom, each child, they are protected because the parent has to go through you, has to sue you, has to do this, has to do that. They're still protected. There's a problem. How many, the risk alone, these girls are 7 times than any other person in America. Like, I'm clever in my words because I never even thought that this would even be a, I've had to pull her out. I thought it would be simple as, well, absolutely not. They said school policy was 2 assistants. They said that he was in there because if she come home and said one or so-and-so done something to me, the catch is if this same man walked across the hall and went into the bathroom with a normal 12-year-old girl and she went home and told her mother, he would be given 2 choices, resign or get fired. But my baby's on the wrong end of the hall. They are protected because if my child comes home and says one or the other done something, but my child can't come home and say anything. There's data, federal, state, the NRA, there is child after child after child. It keeps happening. It's happened in Knox County. And I have been mocked, I have been laughed at. The very school that I have protected and defended and supported has completely turned their back on my child and told me, oh, well, we don't care. We don't care. We're not going to stop it. He will continue to go in there. This same girl, any of you could take her back in there and God couldn't stop you. We could do whatever you wanted to her. And that same child will look at you and say, I'm sorry. She doesn't understand any kind of ugly. She mimics behavior. That's how I understand what is going on with her. She started saying things that were inappropriate, moaning, calling herself my baby, ooh baby. I asked her teacher, what has changed? I have protected her from daycares, from babysitters, my own family members. 12 years, that child has never spent one night away from me. I trusted her with you. This has been going on for 3 weeks. And now I'm told they don't even have to notify the other parents. There is 5 other little girls who have Down syndrome, 4 of which are completely nonverbal in that same classroom. This man is taking them to the bathroom. He is physically assisting them, which means wiping them. My daughter just had her cycle. She is more physically developed than I am.
Ma'am, your time is up. I'm sorry.
She was the last child to start her cycle.
Thank you.
I appreciate what you've presented, and Ms. Drennan, if you would look into this, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Constance Every. Please state your name and county of residence.
My name is Constance Every, county of residence, Knox County. All right, so there's, that's very disappointing to hear that. But it kind of goes into exactly what I'm going to piggyback right off of. So just like she is stating that clearly we are having some form of sexual assault occurring on school grounds with a teacher assisting her, obviously her child, to the restroom, there has also been a complaint already brought to KPD and Knox County Board school members and our local our city council chair official, Ms. Lauren Ryder, as well. Latronis D. Rollins, he is a known sexual child abuser. he has sexually assaulted our children. He has been coming to Knox County school campus grounds and recruiting our children directly off campus grounds. But that's okay, because I brought the proof, because of course these are just words until you have the actual victims present. I took victims down to the, what is that? The Family Justice Center, and it's supposed to be the officer of detective lead on this is Clemens. I brought her I brought her students and parents who have been actually assaulted by this man. However, there's been 0 arrests. I just found out from another parent, literally like last week, that Mr. Rollins has been spotted on Austin East campus grounds, and the police officer on duty has actually admitted to seeing him, yet 0 arrests has occurred. What does it take for this board? Well, I know what it takes. The reality is that this is a voted position. So listen up, people that are here and the rest of our community. If we are not pleased with what is going on, that means we vote. We remove y'all and get new people in that we support and agree for to take these positions. For the new ones, I hope you pay attention to what's going on. For you old ones, time is up. It is time for correction and changes to take place, because the things that this county board has done has been poor in the performance. Y'all talk about racism. Here's a little racism line for you. There is a budget currently up for grabs, total funding of $653,000, 190 cents, and $190.12. Guess what schools are included in the budget? Carter, Farragut, Gresham, Holston, the police department, Bonnie K, Dogwood, L&M STEM, West Valley, Cedar Bluff, Hardin Valley, Burden, Central, Gibbs, Hall, South Doyle. Where is Green School? Where's Austin East? Where's Fulton? Where's Belmont? Where is Vine? Where is Selmore Green? But you want me to sit and believe that we don't have a racist or discriminatory issue going on in our school systems? And these are schools that are in dire need. How about Linesdale? Let's go and talk about that one too. Linesdale this year alone has had several gas leaks. They have been without heat. They have actually served cold lunches and cold breakfast to the students there. They are handicapped inaccessibility. You all denied them for a new school. But guess who you did approve? You approved Adrian Burnett, that honestly has school accessibility. They have not had gas leaks. They have had hot lunches and hot breakfasts this year. And currently, they have all the resources that Linesdale don't, but you give the money to them for a new school? Let's move on to the next topic. How about the $170,000 that you spent on a multicultural diversifying training for your staff that turned out to be a total joke? Because all you did was go in there and talk about this is racist and this is discriminatory. Last time I checked, multicultural is an appreciation of my heritage as well as the others around me. So that's not multicultural training. And we can move on to the next one. Currently right now, Green School has a rat and rodent infestation. So far, I've been told by my own students sitting right here behind me and their teachers that this week alone, they have seen 7 rats in one day in their school facilities. So you know what that tells me? That means they're eating rat for lunch. If that infestation is that prevalent, that means that they are sitting there having their droppings in their food. And y'all don't think this is a concern, but you think it's a concern to spend $170,000 on a multicultural that wasn't even multicultural? Y'all got to cut the shenanigans up in here. So my message to the people, vote. These are votable positions. Vote. They can be removed from these positions. This is not something that's permanently here for you all. This is not a privilege to be here. This is a given elected position of trust that you will do the right thing. You will make sure that all school districts are being taken care of. You will make sure that all students have the proper resources. You will make sure that all the children are protected. I am confused at what is more to be done here other than to remove people. And Mr. McMillan, you are an insult. I am one of your students from Gibbs High School. History, 4 years in a row, straight A's in your class.
Madam Chair.
No, don't interrupt me. I still have the floor. I have 18 seconds. This is an insult. The things that you have said about colored students, people of color in their classrooms, and particularly to our academic success, comes off as a pure insult when you know for a fact I was a straight A student in your classroom. But that's okay. I ain't gonna take up no more time. Thank you, Knox County, for failing once again. Thank you.
Allison Bush. Kim Kedrick.
Kim Kredich, Knox County. I'm here as part of the coalition that you've probably heard a lot from, and I'm the part that represents special education. It's a fantastic coalition. We meet and we really dig deep, and we've spent a lot of time. So I just wanted to say on behalf of my coalition partners, I'm really proud to represent them. All I'm going to talk about is my expertise in special ed. We're more focused on funding, supporting you in asking for funding, but the special ed piece for our recommendation for the strategic plan simply remains, please understand your own policies. Please fulfill the promise that you made to many parents years ago that you would have a workshop on special ed law. And then I might not be getting calls like the one that I got just a few days ago. I help every single person. I went to 6 IEP meetings last week. It's spinning out of control. The lawsuits pile up, and that means money that could be better spent, obviously, on instruction. I know that the director of special ed is apparently retiring, and we would like to know what the process is or will be for hiring a new director of special ed. We hope it's from outside the district so that we don't just continue to make the same mistakes, and so that we can put our district on the right track in serving the needs of all students. Thank you.
Thank you. Kerwin Fricks.
Hi, I'm Kerwin Fricks. I'm the PTA president at Green Magnet Academy, and I just wanted to come and tell you all some positive things that are going on at Green. First of all, with the administration, our principal, Jessica Holman, was recognized as one of the Albert K. Fretwell Outstanding Educators of 2019. We had 2 visits from the UT Leadership Academy director to showcase and highlight the excellent administrative team at Green Magnet Academy. And our administration team is presenting at the National Magnet Schools Conference with Vine Middle School administration as well. With regards to our teachers visited Ron Clark Academy for a day of professional development. We have professional developments after school to grow our teachers' practice. Our STEAM team teachers visited a successful STEAM school that was recently awarded the TSIN STEM School of Designation. As for our students and for our school, we are tracking student growth in math and reading through our iReady diagnostic and instructional pieces. As a result, a record number of 3rd to 5th graders are making 2 to 3 years of growth in a year. We have a Destination Imagination team this year. We actually got a late start on it. We didn't start actually meeting until maybe December, when a lot of teams start all the way at the beginning of school year. I'm very proud to talk about DI. It develops and utilizes critical thinking skills, creativity, and problem-solving skills. Green Magnet Academy took 1st place in the elementary Game On category and had the highest instant challenge score at regionals in Chattanooga. Our Green Magnet Academy students were invited to sing the national anthem at the annual Junior Achievement Business Dinner. We were named the 2019 official Goodwill Sack Pack Kickoff School due to being the school with the largest donation in last year's drive. We implemented houses to increase student motivation and behavior. And we were selected this year by Comcast Cares for Comcast Cares Day, which is May 4th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we get money for our school, which is a Title I school, for every volunteer that comes and helps out on that. I do have to confirm that we do have a rodent infestation. That wasn't originally on my list, but we do really have a problem with that, especially up in the upstairs hallway that I know of, because my daughter's in 4th grade up there. And with regards to the PTA, we are more than just a PTA of 120 members, which is really huge, and I'm very proud of that. But we are more than that, and we are more than just about supporting our teachers, staff, and students. Our vision is much broader. We have a very rich history in East Knoxville, and the vision we have is to celebrate that. One goal we have for Green Magnet is to initiate a Founders Day honoring our namesake, Dr. H.M. Green. It is important for our children to feel proud about the accomplishments we are doing this year, but it's also important they know our school history and know more about their community and have a lot of pride in that. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing good news. Oliver Muhire?
Hi, my name is Olivier Muhire, not Oliver. So
I apologize for.
that's okay.
Thank you.
I came to this country when I was 13, and I left Rwanda because of all the chaos that was going on. And when I got here, they asked me how old I was, and I said I was 13, and then they said, you got to go to high school. My days in high school were not easy because I couldn't speak English. And then as my career went on, my high school career went on, I was trying to go to college, and everywhere I applied, they always say no because my GPA was bad. But nobody ever cared to ask me what my life has been like, which was total chaos. I skipped middle school because I was 13, and when I was in Kenya, I lived in Kenya for 2.5 years. But I was here, the principal asked me how old I was, and they said, you gotta go to 9th grade. So my first 2 years in high school was pretty much a waste of my time, which I managed to graduate high school with a very low GPA that I was very proud of, and I never missed school. Like I never, ever missed school. So the reason I'm telling you this, there is a lot of immigrants and refugees in Knox County schools, and I work at Green, and it always hurts me to see a kid who's in 3rd grade and they cannot even write their last names. And we give him the same test that every other kid is required to take because it reminds me of myself when I was taking these SATs and doing all these other tests. My first test that I ever took, I had a 32. It was a science test. Teacher just gave me a test. It was like, I was here for like maybe two or 3 days, and the guy just gave me a test. And he put that I had an F. But you know what? I went and put it on my mom's fridge because I was actually so proud of it. Because I just guessed. I guessed, but anyways, a couple weeks ago, I went to Austin East, and I saw a bunch of kids who are immigrants and refugees who were pretty much in the same boat, and I couldn't just help but think about myself. And I know they're going to go through the same things, but I know there's good things going on at Austin East with Project Grad. Antonio Mays brings these kids in a room, and he tutors them. He asked me to come to help him, and so I just want to say thank you to Project Grad for taking that initiative because it's very important. I always tell the kids that our parents didn't bring us here to just kind of not do anything because this country gives us good opportunities today, you know, so we can go back home and like maybe start our own schools because that's stuff that we never dreamed of. We never dreamed about having. So I hope you, whatever you make your budgets or whatever, just continue to provide resources for these kids. Because again, when our parents bring us here, they're just looking for us to have good dreams and so we can be able to do anything, just like myself. Things are still hard for me now. I'm still learning English. I don't know if you can notice, but I have a big accent that I'm very proud of. But it doesn't make me quit. People still make fun of me. People make fun of a lot of immigrant kids because they smell different or whatever. So yes, I hope you have a policy that protects these kids or whatever you do. And I just want to say thank you to Project Grad for everything that they do because had I had Project Grad in high school, I went to high school in Connecticut, I don't think I would have been able. I forgot to tell you, I played soccer in high school, and I was really good. I was pretty good soccer player, but most of the schools that I wanted to go play at, they always asked me what my GPA was, and it was bad, and nobody ever wanted to talk to me again, you know? But again, had I had Project Grad, I think that would help me a whole lot. And they're doing that right now at Austin East because I've seen it. And I'm actually helping him do that. So I hope you continue to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Dagnan?
Amanda Dagnan, Knox County. I am here tonight on behalf of my son, who is a senior at Farragut High School. On October 3rd, he was searched, his person. He had a vape in school, passed it to another girl, who left the class, brought it back, and gave it back to my son. At that point in time, someone told the teacher that my son was doing a drug deal in class. He was pulled out of class, along with the girl and another boy, and searched. They found the vape, and they found money. Jacob had just turned 18, 9 days before this. Then, apparently, because my son had a vape and cash in his wallet, they decided to search his car. Yes, he had a bong under his car seat. In that bong was residue, no marijuana. He had no joints rolled. He was not in school passing out joints to anybody. But he was given 180 days his senior year. He's missed every football game, every basketball game. He will miss prom. He was also informed that he will not be allowed to walk for graduation. This is one of the 3 times I've only seen my son cry. Since this, he was 18. He's been here at City County Building. He's on probation till the end of October. He has completed 32 hours of community service. He has taken his drug and alcohol class that was required, and he has now finished high school online through the night school. All I am asking is that my son gets a chance to walk across the stage with his friends in his cap and gown in front of his mother, his sister, his family, and his friends. His suspension ends on May 23rd, the last day of school, 5 days after graduation. He'll never be back in Knox County. He's been in Farragut since he was 5 years old, all the way through Farragut until now. And he has been denied everything for, yes, a stupid mistake. But your motto is excellence for every child. And not one person since he got suspended has called me, has called my son, has called a meeting, or has reviewed any of this. They only want to go by what the principal said. And I hope that somewhere in your heart that you might consider that he gets a chance to walk across the stage for his graduation. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanya Coates?
I appreciate it, Madam Chair. I wanted to go back and talk about, Mr. Norman, talk about stirring the pot. But I appreciate you bringing this up because everyone that's on our collaborative conferencing team, we have a partnership with Mr. Thomas and I through the educators of Knox County. And this was brought up almost 7 years ago about actually doing something, and Mr. McPherson was with us back then. So we appreciate this opportunity to take it back, and as Ms. Owens had stated, of taking it back and talking about this as a challenge, because we had suggested at one time, 7 years ago, if we give all the educators a $10,000 raise because of the way our salary is, it would be a perfect fix, right? But because the way it's worked out, Ms. McPherson talked about it, it's very much of a challenge of our gap is going to continue to widen anytime we have a raise that's going up. You know that you have this challenge when we don't even have the money now. So just trying to go back and talk about this, we appreciate the opportunity to let us delve into that and come with some solutions or suggestions, again, through our partnership, the ones that you have agreed and have signed off on of being part of our collaborative conferencing team. So again, we want to say thank you, and that's what I wanted to say earlier about. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that concludes public forum.
All right. Yeah, are there any questions, comments? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by McMillan, second by Norman. We are adjourned.